One morning on the European battlefield in 180 AD, Maximus Decimus Meridius, a Roman general, prepared his army for a major battle. After seeing his determined demeanor and hearing his commands, the soldiers knew that a significant conflict was about to take place. Known as a fierce and capable leader, Maximus had led his men through years of hard-fought battles on foreign soil, and his reputation was one of loyalty and strength. His army, comprising thousands of well-trained and dedicated soldiers, was willing to fight and die for him because they believed in his leadership and vision for Rome. The opponent they faced this time was a formidable enemy. The fierce barbarians, known for their brutal fighting tactics, were ready to engage the Roman legions. To overcome this enemy, Maximus personally led a group of surprise troops into a well-planned ambush, demonstrating his tactical brilliance. Even though the road to victory was fraught with danger and the journey was long, Maximus never wavered in his determination. Despite moments of doubt and the harsh realities of war, his faith in his men and his cause remained steadfast. At the final battle, after much bloodshed and intense fighting, Maximus and his army secured a massive victory. Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who had been observing the battle, was greatly impressed by Maximus's leadership and courage. The emperor approached Maximus and, in front of the assembled troops, asked what reward he desired for his outstanding service to Rome. Maximus, ever humble and loyal, looked around at his men in the battlefield, reflecting on his life and choices. After a long pause, he stepped forward to speak to Marcus Aurelius, expressing his wish to return to his farm and family in Spain, rather than seek power or titles. Recognizing Maximus's virtue and integrity, Marcus Aurelius confided in him about his plans for Rome. The emperor, weary of the corruption and decadence in the Senate, revealed his intention to pass the leadership of Rome to Maximus instead of his own son, Commodus. Marcus Aurelius believed that Maximus was the only one who could restore the glory of Rome and prevent it from falling into ruin. Maximus, though surprised by the emperor's proposal, understood the heavy responsibility and vowed to serve Rome as best as he could. However, Commodus, the emperor's ambitious and ruthless son, did not take the news well. Upon learning of his father's decision to bypass him for the throne, Commodus confronted Marcus Aurelius in a fit of rage. Consumed by jealousy and the desire for power, Commodus could not accept his father's choice. In a moment of betrayal, he murdered Marcus Aurelius, suffocating him to death, and then seized power for himself, declaring himself emperor. With his newfound authority, Commodus summoned Maximus, hoping to coerce him into supporting his rule. He offered Maximus a position of great influence, hoping to win over the general's loyalty. However, Maximus, shocked and disgusted by Commodus's actions, refused to serve under him. He knew that Commodus was unfit to rule Rome, and that aligning with him would betray everything he stood for. Commodus, infuriated by Maximus's defiance, ordered his execution and the execution of his family as punishment for his disloyalty. Maximus was taken away to be executed, but he managed to escape, killing his captors in the process. Gravely wounded and barely conscious, he rode his horse back to his home in Spain, driven by the desperate hope of saving his family. However, when he arrived, he found his home destroyed and his family brutally murdered by Commodus's orders. Overwhelmed by grief and loss, Maximus buried his wife and son with his own hands, weeping bitterly at their graves before collapsing from his injuries and exhaustion. When Maximus awoke, he found himself in a slave caravan, having been captured by traders. Weak and disoriented, he realized that he had been sold into slavery. His captors transported him to North Africa, where he was sold to Proximo, a former gladiator turned owner of a gladiatorial school. Forced into this brutal new life, Maximus was trained to fight in the arena, a place where slaves and prisoners were forced to battle to the death for the amusement of the public. Despite his initial reluctance and disdain for the blood sport, Maximus soon proved himself as a fierce and skilled gladiator. Driven by his need to survive and his desire for vengeance, he quickly rose through the ranks, winning match after match. His combat skills, honed on the battlefield, set him apart from other gladiators, earning him the nickname, the Spaniard. His reputation grew, and he became a favorite among the crowds, who cheered for his every victory. Maximus's prowess in the arena did not go unnoticed. Proximo, seeing his potential, promised Maximus that if he continued to win, he would eventually have the chance to gain his freedom. Maximus, however, was not motivated by freedom alone. He sought revenge against Commodus for the murder of his family and the betrayal of Rome. He knew that the only way to achieve this was to win enough fights to be sent to Rome, where he could confront Commodus directly. Maximus continued to fight, his fame spread throughout the empire, and he became a symbol of resistance and hope to the oppressed. His skill and determination earned him the respect of his fellow gladiators and even some of his captors. The people began to see him not just as a gladiator but as a hero who stood against tyranny. Word of his victories reached Rome, where Commodus, now emperor, decided to host a series of games to celebrate his rule and distract the public from his own shortcomings. Maximus knew this was his chance. He fought with unmatched ferocity in the games, determined to reach the final match in Rome. His strategy and combat skills enabled him to defeat every opponent, even those heavily armed and armored. His reputation grew, and the crowds began to chant his name, Maximus, Maximus. The day of the final games arrived, and Maximus, now a seasoned gladiator, was ready. He entered the arena to a roaring crowd, facing off against Rome's most formidable fighters. The battles were fierce and brutal, with Maximus using every ounce of his strength and cunning to survive. In a dramatic twist, Commodus, eager to prove his dominance and kill Maximus himself, entered the arena, armed and armored for battle. Before the duel, Commodus, fearing Maximus's strength, had his men secretly wound him, hoping to weaken him for the fight. Despite the injury, Maximus fought valiantly, using his skills and experience to hold his own against Commodus. The fight was intense, with both men exchanging blows and neither willing to give in. The crowd watched in stunned silence, captivated by the clash between the wronged general and the corrupt emperor. In the end, despite his injury and exhaustion, Maximus managed to gain the upper hand. He disarmed Commodus and, with the emperor at his mercy, made a final defiant gesture. Refusing to kill Commodus in cold blood, Maximus dropped his weapon, choosing to fight with honor. Enraged and humiliated, Commodus tried to stab Maximus with a hidden dagger, but Maximus, with his last strength, turned the blade back on Commodus, mortally wounding him. As Commodus fell, the crowd erupted in cheers, recognizing Maximus as the true victor. Mortally wounded himself, Maximus collapsed, his vision blurring. In his final moments, he remembered his family, imagining himself reunited with them in the afterlife. As he lay dying, he conveyed the last wish of Marcus Aurelius to the Senate, to restore Rome to a republic and free it from tyranny. His words inspired the people and the Senate to act, leading to a renewed hope for Rome's future. With his final breath, Maximus achieved his goal. He had avenged his family, fulfilled the wishes of Marcus Aurelius, and restored honor to Rome. His death was mourned by all who knew him, and his legacy as a soldier, a gladiator, and a hero who stood up against tyranny lived on, inspiring generations to come.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more recaps from QuickrecapHQ.